we talking to other people. It's gonna be a big fun fight on the way. That's what I would say. I think it's gonna be a big fun fight on the way.
Is it a Lomachenko fight on the way?
I wish, but honestly, Lomachenko said he don't want to fight me. He said next year. But it's a big fight on the way for sure.
A big fight on the way. Come on, you don't want to tell us. I can't think of any big name. Not Cambosis.
So it's a name that we all know and that people will be excited about.
Exactly. It's a name that it's an up and coming, undefeated fighter who's hungry.
Frank Martin.
He want to fight.
Frank Martin. There you go.
Don't know.
It's just so crazy how you are willing to fight any and everybody. That's crazy right now.
Earlier, SHAKUR Stevenson gave us an idea on who he's going to fight next in his most recent interview, and it was very interesting. They asked him about Lomachenko, and when they asked him about Lomachenko, he said no, he wishes. And then they went on to ask him about who would it be next? Can we get an idea? And he started to go into details and say that the guy he's going to fight next is going to be undefeated. He has a pretty big name. And the guy said, well, is it going to be Frank Martin? And SHAKUR Stevenson laughed, he smirked, and he said, I don't know. But we all know that that's probably going to be who his next opponent is. And that's just an example of SHAKUR Stevenson taking big steps into fighting the toughest fights and showing people that he wants to be great instead of cherry-picking his way into fighting unskilled guys that he would beat, like a Pitbull Cruz or a George Cambosis. Fighting a Frank Martin would be a good fight. I think Frank Martin's a great fighter. This would be a really good fight for boxing. This would be a really good fight for the fans. And I think Frank Martin would be a good style for SHAKUR Stevenson. And I think SHAKUR Stevenson would be just a little bit too much for Frank Martin. I think his IQ and his defense and his jab, I think he would just make Frank make a little bit too much mistakes and Frank would lose. I think he would go to distance, Frank, because Frank's a really good fighter. He's got a lot of heart. He's a tough fighter. But I think SHAKUR would win by unanimous decision. But this is a great fight for the fans, and this is an example of great boxing. Tank Davis needs to follow in SHAKUR Stevenson's footsteps and start fighting tougher fights. A rematch with Pitbull Cruz is not what boxing fans want to see Gervonta Davis do next. Let's be honest. That's a terrible fight, and SHAKUR Stevenson fighting Frank Martin might set the tone for the lightweight division. And in other boxing news, Jared Anderson is fighting Andre Rudenko tomorrow. Andre Rudenko, he's got a good chin. You know, he's only been stopped once. He's a tough fighter. But this is a stepping stone for Jared Anderson tomorrow. He needs to prove that he's elite. And he didn't have a great performance against Charles Martin in his last fight. And we're going to see how he does against Andre Rudenko. A lot of people are saying that he should knock Rudenko out within 4 or 5 rounds. Let's see if Rudenko can last longer. A lot of people are saying that Jared Anderson can't even beat the top 4 guys in the heavyweight division, and the heavyweight division is lost. So we'll see what Jared Anderson does tomorrow night in Tulsa, Oklahoma.